Are you also curious about the story of the soul? Please don't worry. In my film, there is no any scary scenes. I will only tell you the stories that happened around me and my friends. They all happened. No matter you believe it or not. Welcome to the mysterious but real world. The second story happened to me. In 2019, at about 12 o'clock in the evening of the 7th lunar month, I was still going home from my usual route home. On the way to the funeral parlor, suddenly, I saw something. A black shadow flashed before my eyes so fast that I couldn't see what it was, and then I continued to move forward and ignored it. When I got home, I took out some midnight snacks and started to enjoy them. I just ate a few bites. Then I wonder if the braised duck wings were too salty? I felt dizzy and felt like I was about to have a stroke. So I decided not to eat and prepared to take a shower and brush my teeth. I want to go to sleep as soon as possible. The next morning, due to the typhoon, my company postponed working hours. After waking up early in the morning to confirm the correct working time, I notified other colleagues. Instantly, I felt violently dizzy and very uncomfortable. After sleeping for a few hours, I felt that I was in such a bad state that I couldn't drive to work by myself. So I asked my family to drive me to work. When I arrived at the company, I met a colleague who was familiar with temple work. His nickname is Monkey. Monkey always had a chubby figure in his whole life. But he said that when he was in the temple, he could lower his waist when the gods got on him. He said that I must met the ghost last night. So he sent me the talisman from the temple. Then I asked a friend from the same company. It was the friend who discovered that my deceased father was with me in the first episode. Many stories later came from her, and I called her as Fairy. Fairy used the methods she knew to help me purify myself. And she reminded me to take a bath with water mixed with salt, rice, and hibiscus after I got home. I did feel better, but I still felt a little dizzy. In the later period, I still got dizzy occasionally. I thought this was related to my high intraocular pressure. Because one day I forgot to take eye drops to lower intraocular pressure. This had a purifying effect. In the evening of that day, I was so dizzy that I couldn't stand straight. I went to the company's infirmary to rest for a while and asked my family to bring me eye drops. However, on the days when I remember to take eye drops, I still occasionally feel violent dizziness. One day, during a routine meeting at the company, I was just sitting and waiting for the meeting report, and suddenly felt violent dizziness again. So I sent a message to ask Fairy. Fairy asked me to meet her after the meeting. When I arrived at Fairy's workplace, she began to communicate with it, ghost, that I couldn't see. It turned out that I was a man in my previous life, and it was a woman. Because I hurt her feeling in my previous life. She did keep hating me till her death. With resentment and unwillingness to be reincarnated, she waited for decades and finally found me for revenge. It said she didn't want money, lotus flowers, or me chanting sutras. She just wanted to get revenge. Fairy said it had a black order flag. Later Fairy conveyed the god's intention, asking if it can practice with the gods. I also worship Mazu, one of gods, as my teacher and practice with the gods. Is this a good way? Ghost agreed, and Fairy asked me if I agreed. I agreed immediately. Because I had dreamed about me and Fairy dealing with things together a long time ago. I knew it was a precognitive dream and it was my fate. So we reconciled, and from then on, soul, began to practice with Mazu. I promised to worship Mazu as my teacher and practice with the gods. So I had to prepare tributes to Mazu and ask if I could worship Mazu as my teacher. The gods are merciful, and Mazu agreed. On the night of my apprenticeship, I was in the middle of the night. The lights in the room were dim, and my eyes were closed. But I still couldn't sleep. Somehow, I suddenly opened my eyes slightly. In the dark room, I saw a bright light. The white talisman hung in midair, about 10 centimeters away from my body. Then I closed my eyes and fell asleep. This was the beginning of my practice with the gods. Good will be rewarded with good and evil will be punished with evil. It's not that there will be no reward, and the time has not yet come. Although decades have passed and I have been reincarnated and grown up, I still have to bear the consequences of the wrong things I did in my previous life. But Fairy said that now it's all retribution in this life. So it is important to do good deeds. People are doing it, and God is watching. Let's do good deeds together.